is Jess, and welcome to Original Budgets by Jess, where we simply budget happy. And in today's video, we are going to be budgeting check number 2 of January of 2023. So let's get started. All right, you guys, so like I said, we're going to be budgeting out paycheck number 2, and we have a couple of things we need to do. So to help myself stay organized, what I created is a budget routine. And I have a monthly to-do list, a weekly to-do list, a daily to-do list, and then a payday to-do list. This really helps me stay organized and make sure that I do everything that needs to be done so I can have a successful budget. So right now, what we are going to be doing is the payday to-do list right here. So I'll put this up on the screen so you guys can see it a little bit better, but this is what I'm going to be following for today. So let's get started. So step 1 of what I need to do is I need to log all of my expenses from last paycheck, which I already did. And that's in my expenses and closeout section. So right here I listed all of my expenses, and then I decided to white out this line. 1, I messed up, and then 2, I just did it kind of as a divide line for my next pay period expenses. So these 2 are pending expenses on my 2 credit cards, but it will count for the next paycheck, which is paycheck number 2 for January. And then also what I did is I've already separated my 5th check for January right here. And that's, if you haven't seen my last video, basically what I decide to do instead of doing the highlighter method, what I do is I just created these smaller tracker sheets and put the categories of my budget categories, and then I'm dividing them up so then I can be able to total them out to see how much I spent per category. So far I'm absolutely loving it because I'm not having to deal with so many different colors, and I'm able to keep my beautiful purple sheet. If you don't know, purple is definitely my favorite color, and it's just working out for me that way. This is a new way of me doing it, so far it is working out. Hopefully I have enough room, but our check was small this pay period because we had a couple of days off, so I shouldn't be spending as much, but if I do run out of room, I'll just get another paper. Alrighty, so what I've already done that is track my expenses. The next thing I have to do is make sure I review all my auto bills. So we'll go to the paycheck section of my workbook, and it looks like I've already done all that for my last pay period. As you can see, the checks are red, so that means I completed it. And then after doing that, I make sure I pay my credit cards off. So the way I'm able to do credit cards is I pay them off after every check. So the balance that remains on my credit card is the only balance from that pay period. It doesn't linger for a whole month, 2 months, or whatever, and I don't just pay the minimum. I just pay the whole balance off, and that's how I like to do it. So after I paid off my credit cards, the next thing is I map out the next paycheck. So that's what I've already done here for you guys to see, which is right here. I find it very helpful to map it all out first because I want to make sure my math is correct. So a couple of things, I had a couple of debts that I had to take care of, so I had to make sure I factored that in into the whole thing. And then Like I said, my check was kind of smaller this time, so I really had to finesse everything, so making sure everything was covered and we were all set for the next 2 weeks. So after mapping out my happy budget, what I do next is I pay my bills. So I'm gonna zoom in a little bit so you guys can see. So right here I have rent that's due on February 1st of $1,000. So I break up my rent into 2 parts. So this is the second part. So now my rent is fully funded, and I'd like to transfer that a couple of days before the 1st, and then I just check it off when they finally take it out of the account. Then I have Spotify, Canva, phone bill. Phone bill is, I have to pay that manually, because I just send that to my mom, because we're all on a phone bill together. So that's what I do, is just send that money over to her. And then another subscription I have is QuickBooks, and then the last one I have is iCloud. So this pay period's bills are pretty easy and pretty simple, which came out to a total of $1,118, which left me with $352 to work with. So what I had to do next is I listed all my living expenses, but I didn't fill it in, because if you look over here, I had Spinatos I need to still pay off from the previous paycheck. And then one of my friends, she owns a cupcake business, and I told her that I wanted to order Valentine's Day cupcakes, but didn't realize my check was going to be so small, so I had to work around it, and that's why I listed it here as a debt, which it really wasn't a debt because I didn't already purchase it, but I just put it as a debt because I didn't pre-plan for it. So that's what I like to do with my debt section. And then also to let you know, I am pretty much debt free. The only debt that I do have is a car loan that's under $7,000. So I kind of don't consider that as like real heavy debt. And we'll just leave that as that. So once I figured out all of that, what I did next is I went back to the living expenses. So my categories are groceries, gas, home, Jess, in parentheses fun, Dennis, in parentheses fun. Dennis is my boyfriend. Eating out, and then fun, and then miscellaneous, and then essentials. So as you can see, a lot of the categories are 0. That's because in the previous check we kind of used all of our money, and we kind of ate out a lot already. So I was like, well, we shouldn't be eating out for the rest of this month, so we just need to suck it up and eat at home. And then the same thing for our fun money. We kind of spent everything that I wanted to allocate it for this month, so we're not going to do anything for that. And then for essentials, I have it as $70 because we do need to get a couple of toiletry items, so I wanted to make sure we have that so we can stay nice and fresh. And then we have gas, because of course gotta get to and from work so I can handle my business, so I have that as $50. And then for groceries, which we're gonna have to stretch this, is only $151. Luckily, the last 2 pay periods we have been going to Costco, so we do have a lot of food left. So we're just gonna have to figure out different meals we can make with it. I budgeted out $50 per week, because I think for my pay period it's like going to be 3 weeks until I get paid again, because my job's kind of weird. We get paid on the 5th and the 20th of every month. So pay periods are sometimes longer or shorter depending on when the 5th and the 20th fall on. And then lastly, we have our sinking funds. So this is the second check that I haven't been able to technically save, which I am now behind on my saving goals, but I'm figuring out different ways to increase my income besides just my main job, which I know people always recommend you have multiple streams of income, and I am working towards that. It's just my job is a lot. It takes a lot out of me. I spend a lot of hours. If you don't know, I do work at a school. I am an office assistant, and then I'm also a coach. So literally I'm doing 12-hour days, and also sometimes work on the weekends when we have sports days. So finding that time, that's what I'm working on now, so I can increase my income, so I can start getting back to really saving heavy. So the last thing I forgot to tell you guys to start off with, our starting balance was $1,470. So that's what we were working with to make all of this happen. So I'm going to zoom you guys back out so you guys can see the full picture. Alrighty, so that is what we did for paycheck 2 of January. So now what I'm going to do is you're going to see a time lapse of me actually putting it in my workbook, because like I said, this is a mock-up of what I have done, and then we'll go over it a little bit more if I have changed anything, but most likely none of this is going to change. So let's get into putting this in the workbook. Today's video, I filled out my happy budget sheet and it's fully completed. Thank you guys for joining me and hanging out with me. If you have any questions, please leave a comment down below, and always remember, be you, stay true, be original ink. I'll see you guys in the next video.